Okay. So, welcome everyone. This is the Wednesday evening, July 17th, 2024 Cemetery Commissioners meeting. And we are starting, I have 6:10. We're officially starting. First on the agenda, review and approve minutes of the June 19th, 2024 meeting.
Do you want to call a roll call?
Oh, well, I guess we could. Sure. Well,
Someone
I'll
else's
just
item on my desk.
who's here. It's Susan Millinger, Dina Standard, and Walter Tibbetts.
Okay,
All members of the Cemetery Commission and no visitors at this time. I'll keep looking up every once in a while, see if anybody's trying to sign in.
Mr. Hunter.
Oh, sorry.
Was a rundown.
I'll make that go away.
What was that?
It was just something playing on my computer. I had to close the window.
Oh. I looked, I said, did somebody else join in?
Yeah, I know, right? Some strange voice.
All right, so I looked over the minutes quickly. I think they're okay. I didn't really see anything that jumped out anyways.
that's good. I didn't have any problems with anything.
Yeah, I didn't see anything either.
Yeah, it was a
I
fairly
looked
simple
at it
meeting.
the other day. I'm looking at it again now.
All right, so well, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes as distributed.
So moved.
Okay, and I'll make the second. I guess we should have waited to do that first, but then there is no corrections, omissions, errors, or anything that anybody sees needs to be updated. And hearing none, then we'll do a roll call vote to accept them. Susan,
I,
Dina,
Aye.
and I vote aye also, so it's unanimous. Very good. Let's see, new burials and lot sales. There were no sales. There was, as we had talked about in the last meeting, a burial for Margaret Gurman on June 23rd, and the man memorials set the stone that morning also,
Wow.
after I had dug the grave.
well,
So that, and I will say that was a little bit of a mixed up day. It may be partially my fault. Maybe it was just a lot of miscommunication or lack of communication, which made me really think that we should have some kind of standard form for specific questions to ask people that are doing, like, for cremational burials when there's no funeral home involved. I never have a problem when there's a funeral home involved. You know, they're very good at communicating times and whatever's going on. Sometimes families are not. And that's what happened with this one. I had actually had it written down in two places, one at the starting at 11, one starting at 10:30. So I said, well, whatever, I'm gonna get there at 8:30. I'm gonna prepare the grave site and all that. And I even went and mowed a little bit and did the grave. Got it all set, and I figured, well, it's getting close to time they should be here, so I just kind of waited to make sure everything was going to be okay. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and nobody's showing up. I start thinking, did I have the right day, the right time? So I came back home here and found the number for him, Ayers Hall. Called him. He said, oh no, it doesn't start till 1. We're on our way down there now. We'll be there around 1 o'clock. I said, oh, okay. And then he said something like, my sister-in-law says that the service probably isn't going to end till about 2:30. I'm like, wow, that's a long graveside service. So I figured, well, I'll be back there a little earlier just to make sure everything's okay. So I go back for, a little after 1 o'clock, and there's nobody there.
oh, Lord.
So 1:30, nobody there. And I was like, this is, this is getting pretty bad. So I went back up to the center of town because I couldn't get a cell signal there. And I look over at the church and there's like 25, 30 cars at the church.
They're having a service at the
They're
church.
having a service at the church. So when he said they would be there, he never mentioned anything about a church service. He was saying they'd be at the church at 1 and they probably wouldn't get out of the church till 2:30. Well, they really didn't get out of there till like 2:45 to start showing up at the cemetery. And then they were there and it was a longer service there. And then I'm waiting and nobody's coming down. And finally a few people came down and somebody came down that I knew and they said, oh, they're going to be a while. They're looking at different headstones and family stuff and all that. So I was just being respectful and waiting. And finally I was like, there's weather coming in and I've got other things to do. I've been tied up since 8:30 this morning with this. And now it's, getting on 3:30. It's after 3:30. So I finally walked up there and people were starting to leave and all that. And I looked and I said, is Ayers here? Because he actually was supposed to have the check for payment. And they said, oh, he left already. I said, oh, did he leave any papers? No, but he said he had paperwork for you. I said, yeah, he was supposed to have that, but he apparently had already left. And I gave him a little while to see if he would contact me. He has not yet, so I'm going to have to contact him. But it just, basically my day from 8:30 in the morning till like 4:30 was tied up with this one cremational burial because of a lot of misinformation. So I think I'm going to create some kind of form of just questions to ask him. Is there going to be a church service? If so, when does it start? When do you expect it to be done? Then when do you expect to be at the cemetery? Is there going to be a graveside service? How long is that going to last? Just so we have a better idea of what's going on.
And also whether they want to fill in the grave as much as
Right.
able,
Right.
or
And
whether
a
they
matter of
want us
fact,
to do all of it.
I asked them about that in that last conversation I had. He said, well, we're not really sure. I don't know. I'll let you know. Of course, then he never did.
I have this problem in my work too, that one question, which is actually logistically important.
It is. It
And,
is.
and
Whether
you
do
don't
I
want to make
leave?
assumptions about it because it offends people when you make assumptions.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to leave
Okay,
a wheelbarrow or a tractor with a cart full of dirt next to the grave if they don't want to do that. If they do, and I usually talk to them about that, do they want to throw just a couple shovels in? Do they want to fill most of the grave up?
Exactly.
But I request that they leave it, don't fill it full because I like to close it because I've cut the sod out and put it all back.
Exactly. And right.
And, so we try to go over all that stuff and I will let you know. And then he never did. So I just left it that I was going to take care of it. I mean, sometimes they don't even want to put the urn or whatever in the ground. Other times they want to lower it in, so I give them all those options. It's just, in this case.
I
Yeah.
think you're too nice to them, Walter.
Yeah, well, I started feeling that way a little bit, but it's also, I respect the fact that, when you've lost somebody, there's a lot of emotions going on, especially the day that the actual internment happens and all that. So I try to be as accommodating as I can,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think I was not forceful enough with questions on this one.
Well,
So.
especially it's the DIY people, because the other folks, the funeral home has thought all this through for them, so they don't have to.
Right, and they're very good at communicating stuff, and
Right. But the
I know
DIY
most
people,
of them on a first name basis.
right? The DIY people really don't understand everything that's involved. So your questionnaire is a boon to them, right? It helps them think through and answer some of those questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a weird sound. Maybe somebody's making something in the kitchen. Sorry. But it's a really, it helps them be more organized and thoughtful about what they have to consider, and that there are these details. And especially in our little towns, where it's the volunteer cemetery commissioners who are
Right.
the guys who show up. I was at a burial in West Leiden a couple weeks ago, and met the cemetery commissioners there. I got out of my car, and because I was the officiant, and the family was mostly there already. I got out of my car, and these guys were sort of standing by the gate. So I stopped to say, I said, I assume you're the cemetery commissioners, and their eyebrows went up on their foreheads, because nobody ever knows that,
Right.
Like,
Yep.
I said, well, I'm a cemetery commissioner too. It's really nice to meet you. And so us and Leiden, we now have a personal connection.
Oh,
It
good.
was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice. They were sweet.
Oh, good.
They have the most remarkable grave marker there I think I've ever seen, up there
Hmm.
at West Leiden Cemetery. And it's just it looks sort of like a window frame or a picture frame, very simple, painted red. I thought of it as a window frame.
Yeah.
Painted red, and it's there. It must be on some little posts into the ground, and that's the marker.
Huh.
Is this
Wow.
beautiful, and it's got this lovely view through it.
Oh,
And
nice.
it just captured my heart. I was just like, oh. So I stopped when I was leaving to talk to the cemetery commissioners about it, and said, you guys have one of my favorite ever grave markers. And they said, oh, which one? And I said, and he was an older gentleman, and he sort of looked me up and down to make sure I was serious, and I
Hmm.
was. And he said, there's a story for that. And he told me about the man in town who had made the marker as a gift for the family. The family hadn't asked for it. He just said, look, she died, and I cared for her, and I made this if you want to use it. Um, and then he said, after a pause, that it's his wife's grave.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
It
the
was
cemetery
Wow.
commission.
such a, yeah, the cemetery
Oh,
commissioner,
wow.
right? And it was such a moment of cemeteryness,
Hmm.
and I felt really glad that I had stopped to say hello on my way in, and
I
recognize
made that
there.
connection.
But
Yeah.
then the other thing, and I should tell you guys this, I was at a burial in New Jersey on Sunday, in one of those giant flat cemeteries. The stones aren't flat, it's a Jewish cemetery, so the
Okay.
stones are raised, but you couldn't see, it was just kind of vast. And
Wow.
I'm there for a burial of a family friend, and Jewish burials are very simple. The casket is always plain, without nails even, they use pegs. So it's a very plain casket, and placed in the ground, and then all of the mourners who want to put in a few shovels full
Right.
of earth. And that's just typical, so people know to do it, and they don't need a lot of. And then the crew who work for the burial ground finish up. And but I looked in because I was like, oh, this is
Hmm.
how do they do this here? And I mean, these graves. So this was an old plot, family plot.
Yeah.
So the person who died was 94. It was her husband's mother's burial plot. So, they're 94. The mother, right, was buried a long time ago. So
Hmm.
there's many people, and the stones were like lichen covered in sort of a nice way. And but these are like cheek to jowl burials.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
Mm.
I'm very curious, and I look in, how are they keeping the sides? Because they're not using vaults,
Right.
so how are they keeping the sides up? And they use these on either side. There were two or three of these sort of kind of rough, maybe 1/8 inch sheets of um I'm guessing aluminum,
Okay. Yeah.
right? To keep it light, but
Yep.
you want it thick enough to be able to, you don't want it to bend from,
Right. From the force. Yeah.
right. So it had to be thick enough. So I guessed about 8 inch, and I guessed aluminum because it's what I would choose for having to lift something like that,
Right.
right? because it's a lighter
Okay.
metal, and
Yep.
sort of from the color. And they were not like uniform sized, right? It was like somebody pulled this out of a pile somewhere years and years
Hey,
ago,
we can
and
use
they've been
this.
using
Yeah.
it ever since, right? No fancy handles. This was jerry rigged.
Right.
But I was like, oh, those are manageable to move. You
Yep.
don't, you could have two or three sort of overlapping a little,
Right.
right? And
Especially
there's
for
not a
irregular
hole,
shaped holes or whatever. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you have some grab holes to pull out with. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense to me. And um I just wanted to bring that back to us,
Hmm.
as
Interesting. Yeah.
ways to consider when we're helping people with vaultless burials. We have to be smart in what do we have on hand that's going to make this, because especially if it's making um our excavators unhappy.
Right. Yeah. That's a good idea.
But these things are done everywhere. And this is what I keep wanting to say to excavators is people have solved these problems.
Yep. Good.
So anyway, that's my burial ground exploration report.
Okay. Very good. All right. Let's see. Getting back to the agenda. Oh, there is going to be one other gravestone setting, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and that actually is for my parents. Took a while for ordering that stone and getting it made and all that, but it is supposed to be. They let me know that it was ready, and I went and marked it all out over the weekend, and so within the next week or two, that should be set.
You have folks come in to keep you company while that happens, Walter?
Um, I don't even, I asked them if they could let me know when they're going to put it in.
Yeah, they
They said,
can't really.
well, we're not really sure yet. It'll be within the next couple of weeks. We'll let you know. And if not, at least we'll let you know when we've done it. So it's like,
Okay,
I got a feeling, yeah, it's not, if they do have it, I'll probably stop in when they're doing it, but I do have somebody that can come down with me afterwards to look at
Good.
it. So
good.
yeah. It will be nice to finally have that done. Or something we started even before my mother passed. So
Right.
sometimes it's amazing how long that can take, just trying to make the decisions and all that stuff. So
It's a lot and a lot to sort through in your heart at the same time. So
right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, groundkeepers update. The only thing I can update on is that this past weekend, Carl started cutting down a lot of the brush in the really old section in the front where we had the pine trees cleared, and then there was new trees growing back up, and that's been kind of going on for a few years. He started with that and started clearing that out, so it looks so much better now. It looks like it's kind of looking like it got forgotten, and now it looks like it's being attended to. So
Oh, good.
that's he did. It's got a few more to go, but for the most part, a lot of it was cleaned up, and he made a pile on the backside. Um, I do have to see if the highway department can move that out back for us or not, and if not, we'll deal with it. But he seems to be getting along with things, getting it pretty much nailed down on how to do things. So and the timing. So I think we got to keep her for a while.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Okay, update on ground penetrating radar and mapping project. Well, Susan informed me some stuff because I hadn't looked at the email, but just to get back to what I was doing after our last meeting, right after the meeting, I printed out the agreement, I signed it, I scanned it, got it ready to send back to Bob, and totally forgot to do it. And I thought I had done it and just totally missed it. So over the weekend when I was getting prepared and posting this meeting and going through stuff, I looked and said, my God, I never sent it. So I did send it to him with an apology. But then his reply, which I hadn't seen, but Susan saw. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Dina, or not, but apparently Bob had another cardiac event. So everything is on hold right at the moment. He says he's not strong enough to do a project, especially as big as ours. So things are on hold right at the moment, but he's hoping to get to ours sometime in October now. He was originally looking at, hopefully June or July.
Right. So we should pray for his health and for cooler weather.
Yes. Yep.
Because
Definitely.
June and July this year would have been brutal for a person with a heart condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for anybody, yeah.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
tell you, you go out there on these days and just stand there, and I do sweat easy,
Staying
so
indoors.
it's amazing. Yep.
So
that
we
is
should
on
pray
hold.
for his good health
Yes.
Yep.
and hope his recovery is good and strong. My guess is that we'll stay on the top of his to-do list because we're an easy drive and he can sleep at home.
Right.
You
Yep.
know,
And
so
he seemed interested in doing it too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was not the best news we needed to hear, but
No.
at least he's still with us and still wanting to get back to doing it. So I guess I left the gravestone restoration project on the agenda, but as far as I know, nothing's been done. I haven't heard anything from Tamara. So I don't know if she's back in the area and been doing any work or not. Doesn't look like she's done anything new there. So
Well, it's hard for her to work outside the cemetery too.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yep. And
It's been brutal.
even just the temperature for the mortars and stuff like that, too hot is probably not good for it either. And like she was doing she had some big project going on in Ohio and stuff like that. So
Right.
as long as it's moving forward, we're doing good.
Yep.
So then that leaves other unfinished business, and Susan, you've got some updates on the legislative bills that we were looking to support.
We were interested in the two bills, the permitting alkaline hydrolysis
Yep.
and also permitting natural organic reduction. And they were on the 1st of July, they were sent to study. They were company to study order, which means they're dead for the year.
Right. Not surprising. So it'll stay on for next year and we'll keep doing it.
Yep. And we could get on it sooner.
I'm wondering if the natural organic reduction is going to be a thing either in Massachusetts or in neighboring states. I would say sometime in the next 5 years or so, because it's just happening and consumers want it to happen. So I think it's going to happen, and I think for some entrepreneurs it's a very interesting, I guess if you're thinking like an entrepreneur, an opportunity, right?
Right.
But
yep.
I think that cemetery commissions are going to have to make decisions about, for instance, will they accept this material? Because some families are going to want to add some of it to family plots.
That's true.
Right? Either as sort of a ground cover to put plantings in, or there's all sorts of ways that this material can be used. And a single human body produces about a full cubic yard of compost material, so like a pickup truck load, right? And so it's a lot of material, and some of it is going to go into reforestation projects and soil redemption kinds of projects in different places. But families will have some of this material, and we should be prepared, if it looks like the legislation's going to pass or in neighboring states passes, we should be prepared to say how this material is allowed in the
right, and how much
town burial grounds.
Right.
Yeah,
because I don't think we'd be anywhere near prepared to have them bring like a half a yard in. That's a lot of material.
Yeah, that's all, and they wouldn't need. So we should say, well, you can bring in a bucket.
Yeah,
right? You know,
yeah, or
let's
so
let's
many
talk
cubic
about what
feet, but yeah.
let's talk about what this is and what it means. And so I think that's a discussion for the future, but I just want to sort of put it in the back of our heads that
Oh,
it's
it's good to be thinking about it ahead of time rather than getting caught with our, without being prepared and going, oh, geez, yeah, somebody wants to do this now. What are we gonna do?
right.
Yeah, it'd be good to know what other cemetery commissions are thinking about doing it.
Yeah, and if they're thinking about it yet, my guess is they're not as forward thinking generally.
Right.
We're really thinking about um the fiasco that Walter had on Saturday, with
Yeah,
with
trying to alleviate things like
about
that.
where these people are actually going to show up and will it take all day. I think that's much more immediate for us anyway, in
Right.
the near future.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good to think about it though.
yes.
All right. Does anybody else have any other unfinished business? Things that we talked about and haven't brought up. Okay. I had put under new business, but we kind of already talked about is a cremational burial worksheet. And and the other thing I put down fee schedule. Because now we're going to be doing this as a revolving fund. And I think I gotta talk to the powers to be to see exactly how that can work out. If it's just as a fee and that can go to the person that's doing the grave preparation, be it whoever, or if they're gonna have to pay like, but if that person's also being paid by the hour, can they accept it as a fee? If not, we'll have to figure out how many hours that would equal to pay
We're
them.
talking about the DIY people, not the people
Well,
that
no, anybody. So if anybody, there's a fee. Usually we charge like $100 to open and close the grave. All right.
very
Um,
cheap.
and before that went straight to whoever did it. And, I got realizing that, that's probably not the proper way to be doing it. It should go through the town so it's accountable and all that, which is why we had them put it on the town meeting to bring it up and say it should go into a revolving fund and the people that do the work get paid out of that. And we got that part done, but then I got thinking, well, I have heard at different times that like if you're being paid by the hour to do a job, you can't be paid like say we charge $100, you get that, and what they normally do is say take that and take taxes out of it. So it's like payroll, but you get that as a lump sum. But I'm not sure if you're being an employee like groundskeeper that's paid by the hour, if they can do that, pay it as a one lump sum, or if we would have to put in from that revolving fund, say 4 hours or 5 hours of.
Wouldn't he invoice it separately for groundskeeping and for burial?
Yeah, well, that's what I got to find out how this is actually going to work. Even if you invoice it that separate or do the warrant separate, is it still legal? Can they pay it that way? So that's what I got to find out.
Right.
But then it also I got thinking about it was, well, it's a lot more paperwork now and all that. Should we, and this is something we don't have to vote on tonight, but think about, because I've been told our fee is very low anyways, do we look at raising the fee a little bit? And from that, some of that goes into, the cemetery commission's funds, like the expendable trust
That we
fund.
use for buying equipment and doing
Right.
with, right.
And because it's going to be more work to be doing this stuff, and it's another source of making us, kind of self-sustaining and all that.
You think we could modestly raise the fees and through that raise money for our own mini excavator?
Mini excavators are a lot of money, but it just so happens though, I was online last night looking at used equipment,
Oh,
like
see,
used
there you
Bobcats,
go, you and me both.
and some of them are down, in the 20,000s, but I mean, a lot of that stuff is, if
Really?
you look
They're
at it
that much?
brand new, you're talking $80,000-$90,000 for
The
them.
mini ones are that much?
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, see, that popped my little fantasy bubble completely. I
But
was
there's
thinking
there's
we could do
used
it
ones
for
that are
10, it
down,
might be
that
okay.
there's used ones that are down in the low 20s even. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think we're gonna raise that from burial fees, though.
No, I don't think so either. No, not unless somebody's willing to donate one to us.
We're gonna have to have our own Halloween bake sale.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, it's something to think about. So, to, like I said, raise the fee. Because I've already been told many times that we charge way too little.
We charge less than anybody I've ever heard of.
Yep. So we, raise the fee,
That's not a
but
bad
have part
plan.
of that go towards the operations or into the expendable trust fund, and then pay whoever it is. If we have to say, all right, we'll just say they worked 4 hours, do it that way. Some days it can seem like it takes that long or more, but yeah, well, I'll check in the legality of that, probably with Gail at some point and see.
Great.
All right. Any other items not anticipated 48 hours prior to the meeting?
Not from me.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of things done earlier in the year, and now we're kind of like coasting, which is good. It's summertime.
It's summer.
Well, we're waiting on things that we already decided about.
Right.
We were
That's true.
thinking that all that radar mapping would be happening right now. So, it's
Yep.
not, and that's fine. I'm really hopeful that he'll be well enough in the fall.
Yeah,
It's
me too.
cooler to get to it. So
Yep. Because it would be really nice to have that done, and he
Right.
seems to be the
only
the
person.
go-to guy for doing it too. So, all right. If nobody has anything else,
Nothing from
we
me.
just set the date for the next meeting. And if we're staying to the third Wednesday, that would be August 21st.
That works for me.
Fine for me.
Okay. The next meeting will be August
See
21,
you guys then.
2024 at 6:00. All right. So motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dina?
Aye.
And I'm in favor also. Very good. Thank you very much. And we will see you all later.
Turning at 6:43.
Yep, that's what I have too. 6:43.
Yep, great.
And we made it through the thunderstorm too.
Yeah. And I got a message from my friend with an orchard in Ashfield that the hail missed him.
Oh, good.
That's
Whew.
All right. Well,
See you guys.
I'm gonna stop the recording anyway, if I can find it. Oh, there we go. They hit it on me.